Khabib Nurmagomedov came out and he said, I have no desire to come back. I am all done fighting. And I'm a little sick of him being so wishy-washy, right? I'm a little sick of the mixed messages by Khabib. Come on, guys. This guy couldn't have been more clear. This might be the clearest speaking fighter with the clearest statement of all time. He has never hedged. Remember all the meetings about meetings and all the talking about talking and, hey, we're going to meet over here to set up a meeting over here. I mean, remember all of these things? Khabib never gave us any hope. He never dangled. He never did it for attention. And there's something that's very cool about that. There's something that's very appropriate about the way that Khabib did it so that everybody can have closure and move on. Because you're being a bit of a jerk to the rest of the guys in the division who are trying to get on with the belt and get on with things. If you're dangling, you're going to come back. I mean, we've seen this. Blachowicz just went through it, thought he had to call out John Jones and make that whole thing right. You guys might remember when St-Pierre retired from 185 pounds, the real retirement. That was a really cool move. And people pushed back on George. They thought it was dirty that he came in, did one fight, grabbed the belt. What would have been dirty is if George would have done what George had the right to do, which is sit for 12 months. It could have been an injury. It could have been a contract dispute. He could have done all of the magazines and the photo shoots with 2 different belts, champ. His endorsements and sponsorships would have gone up. It would have been selfish. He never would have come back. He never would have fought, and he would have held up an entire division, an entire locker room that had the same dream as George, that wanted to be able to be motivated and get on with it. Some guys that were in their prime, and he didn't do it. He took 8 days, 1 week, gave the belt back. George should have been credited for it, and in truth, so should Khabib. Khabib has never hedged. And what is this where when a guy wants to stop, we want him to come back? And when a guy doesn't want him to stop, we want him to retire. Like from a psychological standpoint, what is that inside of us as fans? This guy should stop, man. His best days are behind him. He needs to get out of there. And then a guy that wants to walk away on top, which is very odd. Nobody goes out on top. Lennox Lewis and George St-Pierre, the only fighters to go out on top. And now you have to say Khabib. Everybody stays in there too long. Everybody's career ends the same way, which is face down and embarrassed. That's the way that it goes. It's a hard thing to let go of. And you want to squeeze that until all the juice is out. That it's not wrong. It's very common. It's the way it goes. What's wrong with the guy going out on top? What's wrong with the guy going out on his terms? It's something that really should be celebrated because it's so incredibly rare to do in combat. I just saw John Smith, most decorated wrestler of all time, but he was talking about getting ready for the 1992 Olympics, and he had no interest in winning the Olympics. He was already Olympic and world champion, hadn't lost in 5 years going to this thing, made this number 6. He had no interest or motivation to win it. His motivation was to finish his career on top, not having to look bad, not having regret, not thinking I stayed in here too long. It was a real thing, and it drove him, and he went and set history. I only share for you, when a guy is able to do that, it's a good thing. And I don't know why we're asking guys to come back. I'm seeing this with Weidman right now, and I don't know how to assess it. I don't know how to advise you. If we like Weidman and we want to serve Weidman, then I understand the side of it where we go along in whatever direction he wants to go. If we like him, then we want him to get what it is he wants. In this case, it's a return. The other side of the coin is for what? He's got a ton of memories. He'll be in the Hall of Fame someday. He's a world champion. He stopped the greatest of all time. I mean, the Weidman story is flat impressive. He changed weight classes. He sold out arenas. He's been a marquee fighter. It's impressive. He extended his career. He was an All-American and a national team member before any of this. A lot of you may not even know that. The guy's been a success his entire life. Why does he have to come back from a compound fracture? I read an interview this morning by Weidman talking about blood flow to where they put all the pins and the pieces. If he doesn't get blood flow, they will have to amputate his leg. I mean, he's dealing with something very serious. Why does he need to return? At the same time, who am I to choose or hope against the choices and hopes of a guy who was willing to overcome all of that. It's an amazing story. But I am looking around going, why are we doing it? He's a smart guy. He's going to stay in the sport for a long time. He's damn good at calling fights. He's a good-looking guy. He's got a beautiful gym. He's going to be in the corner of title contenders and world champion. I mean, he's going to be involved in the sport. He's going to have a whole nother chapter that he's going to be able to write as a trainer. Does he really need to come back? It's one of those, right? Puts me in a hard spot. Who am I to say? I'm his friend. Who am I to say that my wishes are opposite of what his wishes are? Oh, by the way, with the obstacles and hurdles that are now added, that's a cool story, man. That's amazing. He comes back and does this. That's an amazing story. And Weidman and Anderson had a talk last week. Weidman's got a podcast he started. He has Anderson Silva on. And Weidman apologized to Anderson for breaking his leg. I don't know the context of that. I read this piece. I don't know what came before or what came after it. Because it's one of those things of, why are you apologizing? We're both in there. We've agreed we're going to try to damage each other. It's actually the number one clause the judges have to look for. Damage. Pretty aggressive word, in fairness. A pretty word, but it's the agreement. Like, where is it? Do you have to apologize for breaking a guy's nose? Do you have to apologize for blacking in a guy's eye? I mean, it's what we're there to do. So I only share that with you because Anderson went through it. And I imagine Weidman's looking at Anderson, who just had an incredible upset, and he's probably inspired by him. Probably the reason he had him on. He probably had a conversation with Anderson off camera that we didn't all hear about, where he said, man, what do I have to go through? Tell me how to get through this. Speaking of Anderson's win, I got to tell you this. It never dawned on me until this morning. Anderson getting the nod on the judge's card in Chavez Jr.'s backyard is stunning. It really is stunning. I never thought about it from this perspective. Somebody else brought it to my attention, but his old man, Chavez Sr., is the biggest athletic star in the history of this city where this fight took place. Boxing is the dirtiest sport that there is. I mean, you saw what the Nevada State Athletic Commission was getting ready to do to Conor McGregor against Floyd Mayweather. Didn't give him a single round. I mean, just insane, just ridiculous. In neutral territory. Anderson went in to a place who was not known for its civility or its honesty and still got them to go against their own guy? Who are the judges of that fight? They should be the judges of every fight. Those might be the three most honest judges. And meanwhile, this is on the backs of Rory McDonald losing a fight that his opponent who won the fight says Rory should have won that fight. Right? This is all the same weekend. And now we're going into Mexico. I don't know what the commissions are like there. I don't know what the experience of these judges were. I don't know where they came from or who was brought in. All I'm saying to you is we should find out. And then we should tell those three guys, great job.